Welcome to the Chuck Shoot Podcast, and thank you for checking us out here. My guest today is music producer Jim Kaufman. So Jim has produced songs for two of my favorite bands, actually, the Black Moods and Them Evils. And if you haven't heard of these bands, definitely check out their music and check out my interviews with them. The Black Moods, I even had them perform live acoustically on the episode. They're great. But in doing my research for the episode, I found out that Jim has done so much. Besides producing a variety of artists, including the ones I mentioned, plus Danny Worsnop, the singer of Asking Alexandria, and Dee Snider from Twisted Sister. He's produced some newer upcoming bands like Moon Fever, Night Riots, and Convey. He's just got an interesting journey how he played in an industrial metal band, and then he worked with Nine Inch Nails' Charlie Clouser on the music for the movie Saw, and just lots of other cool stuff along the way. It's really neat to get a peek behind the curtain of how a lot of this great music is made, and it's just a great conversation. Check it out. Welcome to the Chuck Shoot Podcast. Jim Kaufman, producer, musician, composer extraordinaire. How you doing?
Good. How are you, Chuck?
Great. I'm excited to do this. I learned a lot about you by doing some research for this interview, because I knew you from Black Moods and Them Evils, like I said, but man, you have a lot more that you've done over the years. It's crazy.
Yeah, I've been around a long time.
So let's start at the beginning. So you started playing music at 5 years old, piano. Did your parents make you take lessons like mine did, or did you just hop on it one day and figure it out?
It's funny, as you said that, my mom just called me. My mom put me in piano lessons. Well, my older sister, who's 2 years older than me, started piano lessons at 5.
Okay.
And then I wanted to do piano lessons. And so, I mean, I was in piano lessons from the time that I was like 3 or 4. I really started like really playing at 5, till, I left my mom's house when I was 16, 17. And my mom used to set the timer on the microwave and make me play for an hour a day, which I hated sometimes, but it was really a great lesson. So.
Interesting. So why did they make you take piano? Were they musical, or why did they want you to have music?
My father's musical. My mom is kind of musical. She can make her way around the accordion. But I don't know. I mean, I guess I showed some strength at it at an early age, and they just really encouraged me. My garage, my mother's garage, was converted into like my band room at some point, and we had a drum kit in there, and I just dove into music. I've known since I was a small child that music is my life, so it was just fairly lucky for that.
Absolutely. So some of the artists that I saw, you have a eclectic range. I mean, not only of the bands that you produce, but bands that you're listening to. I think if I got this right, like you like the Bee Gees, Tool, Iggy Pop, Dolly Parton, Rolling Stones, Ozzy, Muse, one of my favorite bands, Rage Against the Machine, all the 90s stuff like Smashing Pumpkins, Pearl Jam, but also like Paul McCartney. So, I mean, that's pretty eclectic range of music.
Yeah. I mean, to me, there's two kinds of music, there's good music and bad music, I don't really like listen to specific genres. I listen to anything that moves me emotionally. And that's what I'm always looking for, is just that emotional component,
Okay. Do you agree that sometimes, like, even though you may not like the band's whole catalog, like some bands have like at least one good song?
Yeah. I mean, there's some bands that I love that I don't love their entire catalog. Like a bad Faith No More song is pretty bad, or a bad Soundgarden song. That's a bad song. But I love those bands.
Yeah.
So,
that's interesting. Yeah. So even the bands that you love most of their stuff, they still have some bad songs too.
I mean, there's very few bands that I think just, have all great songs, like Alice in Chains to me. The Staley Alice in Chains. I can't say I've given, all the newer records my time, but Lane Staley and Jerry Cantrell together, there's no bad songs. I mean, maybe Queen of the Rodeo and shit when they were still trying to find themselves, back in the early days. But
okay. Yeah, no, that's a great band. Is there any producers that you looked up to at an early age, or looking back, are there any producers that you really admire or respect?
I mean, Rick Rubin, of course, Dave Jordan's work. I mean, if we're on the Alice in Chains thing, Jane's Addiction, I mean, those records in Dave Jordan's world in those couple of years really changed my life. Nothing Shocking, Ritual, Facelift, Dirt, but and then I actually, through being in my rock band when I was younger, I worked with a lot of great producers that taught me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
John Travis, Elric Wild, Elric actually worked on Dirt. And I got to kind of learn from these guys that produced my band, Charlie Clouser, who I then worked for a while.
Yeah, Nine Inch Nails.
Trent. I mean, Trent's work on Antichrist Superstar. I mean, that's fucking epic production there. So
right. So tell me about you went to this school for the arts and academics. It was a Tempe charter school, and you learned to play the piano and synthesis. Or you're already playing the piano, but that's where you kind of started playing guitar. So I used to work in education.
I started playing guitar pretty early. I was like 7 when I started playing guitar.
Okay.
But
so you just kind of perfected all this stuff, or what did you tell me about that school? Because I used to work in education. People always bash the charter schools, which, there is some bad things about some charter schools, but I just want to hear your experience being at that school. Cause that's like music specific, which I think is really cool.
Oh, I loved it. I mean, being a music dork, and coming from like a regular school system where, there was football players and those, I was like kind of the outcast. And I started going to NSA my junior year, which actually ended up becoming my senior year. It was just like my last year of school. I had enough credits to graduate, but, and it was all of a sudden like, oh my God, there's other people like me. And, Ron Underwood was there. Elias Mallon was there. We started Opiate for the Masses together, a year after graduating from that school. And then, just a bunch of other great musicians. It was a wonderful experience. I was young. I mean, I was, 16 junior year and I was in and out. I just had 1 year there, but it was really kind of like, it really opened me up to understanding that there's other people in the world that are just focused on art.
Focused on music. Yeah. So your parents must have been supportive of you doing like a career in music. I mean, they made you practice piano. They put you in this charter school. Was there anybody else like telling you like, hey, you need to get a real job. This music thing isn't going to happen and all that?
I mean, for a while there was, the parental pressure of having the backup plan. But it at some point just became clear that, I mean, even if I'm not going to be an artist, I'm going to work in music. If I'm not going to produce, I'll publish. If I'm not going to publish, I'll manage. I can't do anything other than music. I just don't care.
Yeah.
So
that's a really good. Yeah. So did you have a backup plan then, or it was just like, I'm working in music in some capacity?
I mean, death. It's this or death.
Awesome. I love it. That's great. Yeah. So you played in a local band called Projects. I couldn't find anything on this band. What kind of music was it? I assume you play the guitar in this?
Rock, man. It was rap rock. It was 99.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Yep. Is this when you had the cornrows? I saw a picture you with like cornrows and stuff, like long hair. It's kind of cool.
Dreadlocks. No, maybe I had dreadlocks then, but that wasn't when I grew my real dreadlocks out. That was like a shorter dreadlock period.
Okay.
Maybe I had cornrows. I don't know. I mean, the band lasted for a year. Before that band, I was in a band. I basically did one band a year. Verified 21, Victims in Ecstasy, all these bands I was in for 1 year. And then after Projects, I quit Projects to start Opiate for the Masses. And I was in that band for 10 years. And then I, haven't been in a band since.
Right. Well, so, and then you're still in this band, but then you also took this, I don't know if it was like a job or kind of an internship, but you're working with, like you said, Charlie Clouser, who was the original keyboardist in Nine Inch Nails. And he was I think he was producing, it was the Helmet album, right?
So, yeah, I mean, Charlie produced an Opiate for the Masses record.
Okay.
And then I kind of stayed back to mix it with him. And then, I was living in Phoenix at the time. And then I moved to Los Angeles, and I worked with Charlie for a while. And during that time, he was scoring the Saw pictures.
Right.
The Saw #1. We did a Helmet record during that time, which was kind of like on my plate since he was working on Saw mostly. And he did a great job producing the record. I just engineered it, did a lot of editing, that kind of stuff. And I love the Helmet record. It was my intro to big budget rock and large studio. And I'm still friends with, I see Paige Hamilton all the time. And we just did a track together a couple months ago. So it kind of introduced me to a bunch of guys. Johnny Tempesto was playing the drums at the time for the band. Chris Trainer from Bush was in the band. Blasco was playing bass.
Oh, I've had him on. Yeah.
Lineup
Wasn't Frank
at the
Bello
time.
on that one too from Anthrax? Was
Yeah, Blasco played the bass originally. We recorded the bass with Blasco, and
okay.
then Blasco left Helmet to do Ozzy.
That's right. Yep.
We recorded it with Frank.
Okay.
So,
that's cool. Yeah. So what did you learn from working with Charlie on that record and also the Saw stuff? You must have learned a lot about production and stuff.
I mean, I give Charlie credit for basically teaching me everything that I really know as far as production, producing bands, and also like really implementing the programming, which I was previous to knowing Charlie was trying to implement on my own in Opiate for the Masses. I mean, Charlie's like a programming wizard. And so, just the way that he handles the synthesizer, the way that he handles electronic beats, manipulation of audio, he really taught me a lot. And he's a great dude. I mean, we pre-pandemic, we saw each other. We have our birthdays are a day apart. So we would see each other for our birthdays, and we would do Thanksgiving together. But obviously, I haven't seen him since the shutdown. But he's a great guy, and obviously, I learned a lot how to handle clients.
You guys have similar styles in terms of production because I don't know. You mentioned Rick Rubin earlier. I don't know if you saw that documentary that he did. It's really fascinating because he takes these bands and he takes them to this house that's kind of isolated. And he's really a very hands-off producer. He doesn't seem like a real technical kind of guy. He's more about creating an aura and that kind of stuff. You seem like you're more of a technical guy. Am I right?
Yeah. I mean, Rick's not an engineer. Rick is like a visionary, and I engineer, I mix. I love gear. I think Rick probably likes gear too. But Rick is more of like getting the songs in order, pre-production wise, kind of dips in and out during tracking. But I'm a tracking engineer. I love to track. I love the actual process of physical recording, and I love pre-production. And I take a lot from Rick's knowledge base on really that the song is king, and it should, the recording should be set up in pre-production. Like you build the thing in pre-production, and all you do when you're in production is you just knock it over, I mean, Blood Sugar Sex Magic, to me, that
it's a great album.
Production, the way that he handled the Peppers and really, I gave them their identity after they've already had this kind of young punk rock identity,
right?
But they were still trying to figure themselves out and doing the funk thing, and Beinhorn did some work, and Clinton did some work, and that was cool. But when they got with Rubin, they became the Peppers. Do
you like them more as the punk aggressive stuff, or because the other stuff is a little more poppy, and some people might not say they sold out or something? I mean, I like both personally, but
I do too. But I mean, to me, Blood Sugar is the pinnacle. I'm a Frashani guy. I can't do like
he's so great. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even do Josh or whatever his name is. He was a good player, but Frashani is the Peppers. I mean,
what do you think of the album they did with Dave Navarro then?
I mean, I'm not a big Navarro guy. I love Jane's Addiction, but like I can't do Navarro outside of Jane's Addiction.
Yeah, that is kind of weird.
Like I love Tool, but I can't do Maynard outside Tool, mostly just because I'm like, do more Tool, dude. It kind of like I just want them to do what I want.
Right. I gotcha. Totally. Yeah. So in 2005, you created your own record label, American Voodoo Records, which got distribution from EMI. How hard is it to start your own record label and like get that distribution? Because I think anybody could say, "Oh, I have a record label," but to get the distribution is the big thing, right?
I mean, yeah, it was challenging. The label fell apart. I mean, it was something I was trying. I signed a couple bands that I produced. It was just a crazy time. We got the distribution deal, but then interpersonal stuff with the bands, and I was just out. I'm like, this is just too much. I don't really want to be on the label side. I would like to. I just like the making of the records. What happens to the records after I make them is not something I really want to be involved in.
Okay. So the Opiate for the Masses, you're still in that band. And then was that your first record that you produced, was the Spore? That was the first one where you're like the official producer, like you have your own thing.
Technically that I put my name on as a record producer was a Black Moods record called Laurel Canyon.
Okay.
That was like,
I don't know if I've heard that one. Is there, how do you get a copy?
It's killer. Yeah.
That's really not cool. the debut, right? That's like before the debut, the one with the smoke.
Like 8 years before the debut. Like I've been making records with the Black Moods for like 20 years.
Wow.
Me and Chico I've known Chico since I was 12. He was the drummer of my first band.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the first album that I've heard, the Black Moods, because I remember when I heard it, I was complaining to my buddy, there's no good new rock bands. And he was like, oh, you should check this band out, the Black Moods. And I was like, I was floored. I was blown away. I think it might have been right around the time the second album came out, but that second album, or I mean, I guess it's technically maybe the third, Medicine, right? Yeah. It's like retro, but it's like, it sounds like modern sounding production. I don't think there's a bad song on the record. I mean, Say It For the Last Time, so catchy. Paralyzed, the hook in that is so good. Like, I mean, you don't even have to try You Get Me Paralyzed. The way that they sing that Without a Warning, so many good songs. Like, I mean, what's your favorite on the record? I mean, do you feel like the same way, like every song is good?
You know, it's really hard for me because on the Black Moods, in the self-titled album, we did Can't Sleep at Night, and then we re-put Can't Sleep at Night on Medicine.
Yeah.
And I love Can't Sleep at Night. I remember going to Josh's studio in Tempe the day that he wrote that song, and they kind of played it for me. They were still fumbling around with it. I was like, dudes. So I'm totally biased to that song. Also, I think that like the Black Moods self-titled album was just such a really fun part of our lives as a group of friends that we documented. You know, and so I'm partial to that Black Moods. Like the Black Moods is the Black Moods. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and I love it all. I love the three. I haven't heard the Laurel Canyon one though. Is there other stuff that's not released that it's hard to find, or?
I mean, there's a whole bunch of demos. I mean, we cut a, you know, we've been working together a really long time. I could probably dig out a copy of Laurel Canyon from my Dropbox and shoot it your way. I think I have it.
That'd be really neat. Yeah. So do you have a theory as to why at least the Medicine record wasn't bigger? Cause like I hear that record and I hear some of the shit on the radio and I just can't imagine like a program director picking some of the songs that they pick over the songs on that record. Do you think that maybe people weren't exposed to it? Like you know, there's a lot of politics that goes into the record business. Like I said, like what happens to the records after I'm done with them is not something I'm really that into. There's a lot of politics. They were signed to a label, and you know, there is also it's not just about the politics, it's about timing, like everything else, right? And at that time, there was a huge alternative push at radio. That this, you know, synthesizers, you know, a lot of that like alt synth stuff was really popping. And then, you know, the pendulum swang back to being more rock oriented on the radio. I think that record should have been, you know, massive because, you know, I think it's a great record. I think I love that band. I love those guys. I mean, those guys are my brothers. I have nothing bad to say about those guys other than I think Josh should regrow his hair really long because his hair it looks like a fro. Wait, did he cut his hair?
Well, when we were kids, Josh had like really, really long hair. Okay. And then he's like been chemically treating it to like make it blonde and it just keeps getting like more curly and more up. And it's I just miss like, you know,
he's got great hair. I love his hair. I love his hair.
Josh. Yeah. I have to talk shit about his hair. It's a thing I do.
That's funny. So wait, why didn't you work on their latest album, Sunshine? I mean, that one got a lot of airplay and radio success. And,
well, I mean, Johnny K did the record. He's great. You know, at the time, I'm here, they're there. We've worked together forever, and at some point, you just kind of lose objectivity. And I think that maybe because I had made so many records that were considered unsuccessful, they wanted to try something else, which they've had success with. You know, I respect Johnny and what he does, and production to me is like. It's like a lens, right? So it's like if everybody's looking at a band through my lens and the band doesn't go to where they want to go, then maybe it's the wrong lens. And I'm not precious about that.
Yeah. Because you co-wrote some of those songs on those other albums, though, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've written songs on every Black Moods album except for this new one.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, I've been writing with Josh and Chico forever.
Do you typically co-write on the band, or just depends on which artist you're working with?
To be honest with you, the more the older I get, the less writing I'm doing on the bands that I produce. I do produce stuff that I write, but like, you know, it's hard to be objective with songs that you wrote. And, you know, for me as a record producer, trying to have the most objectivity, trying to be in the audience position, but being biased because I wrote the chorus doesn't help me as much, you know.
Gotcha.
I do write. I mean, it's just not a lot, not as much recently.
Yeah. What about Anti-Flag? You produced one of their they're like a punk band. Now, I always wondered, like with the punk bands, are they really truly living that punk lifestyle, or is it sometimes
Anti-Flag is as punk rock as you can get. I mean, those guys are like, you open up a dictionary to punk rock and it's a picture of number 2. They're just insane. No, those guys are legendary. They're really, really good dudes. I mean, unbelievable. I co-produced them with Kenny Carkeet. We did a bunch of songs at my old house. And then Ryan Hewitt mixed. And it's a great album. I love that album. Really fun.
And then did you also produce a band called, was it Night Riots? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Night Riots. I did a lot of writing actually with those guys as well. I produced and mixed a song called Breaking Free off their album Love Gloom that Joe Ciccarelli produced most of. But I wrote 3 or 4 of those songs with the band and Kenny as well. So,
and then
but this song Breaking Free is I produced and mixed. On that
that's a good one. And then the other big one was the singer of Asking Alexandria. You've done a lot of work with him. Are you still working with him as well?
Yeah. Danny is one of my best friends. I mean, Danny's a solid dude. I love him. I take a bullet for him. And we've done 2 full-length solo albums that are out, and we're in the middle of his 3rd solo record, which I'm co-producing with Matt Good, who's Asking Alexandria's producer, and I'm mixing. And this one, Danny wrote all the songs by himself. The last 2 records, I wrote a bunch with him, and he co-wrote a bunch with other people. But this newest record is just Danny writes.
Yeah, because the latest, I think, is it the latest single, Another You? Is that what it's called?
I think so.
But that's
we
great.
We put out a lot of songs that aren't actually on the actual records.
Okay.
Like he does. So we do solo, like singles.
Yeah.
A lot. And we also put out a lot of covers. We're constantly working.
Yeah, because his solo stuff is very different than the Asking Alexandria stuff.
Yeah, the first record was like a country record.
Yeah,
and then the second record was kind of like a smoky R&B country record. Like, it like a Wurlitzer and like you just whiskey soaked kind of thing. And this new record is kind of like, it's kind of pop driven piano, like, and Danny's got this fucking huge voice. I mean, Danny's voice is, he's probably the best male vocalist I've ever recorded. And so you get him out of that screaming thing, and he sings a lot now in Asking Alexandria as well, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But really let him push the voice without having to match this huge, metal music, which is his voice is great for, but like, with the piano bass thing, he can really sit on top of it, and it's beautiful, man. I mean, he's Danny can sing 24 hours a day, no matter what condition he's in. You know what I mean? He can like have not slept for 3 days, getting off tour, flying into LA, whatever, and he can sing, no problem. You can wake him up in the middle of the night. Hey, Danny, you would sing. He's like, all right. And he just gets behind the mic and he can sing. No warm up, no fucking around.
Jeez.
Impressive.
That sounds like, so it makes your job easier. That sounds like, I interviewed Dave Fortman, who worked with Corey Taylor. He said that's how Corey Taylor was. Like, Corey Taylor's just like, he does it every time. And like on the first take, he's like, I guess we could do another take, but that was perfect. Like you nailed it.
Yeah. I mean, that's how Danny is. He's always on. It's pretty amazing.
That's really cool. So I saw a picture of you. I don't know if you worked with him or what. In 2018, you snapped a pic with D. Snider. Were you working on an album with him?
I'm actually working on an album with him right now as well.
Oh, really?
He was supposed to be here today, but he had something come up. So a little later, in about an hour. Jamie from Hatebreed, and this guy Nick Belmore, they produce Dee's solo metal stuff. The first album I think was called For the Love of Metal.
Okay.
Maybe. And I'm Dee's vocal engineer in LA. When Dee wants to sing, he comes over to my house and he sings.
Wow.
And he's a fucking awesome guy. I mean, Dee's a great hang. And also a great vocalist. I would put Dee in the Danny category. Or maybe I should say I'll put Danny in the D category. Let's give Dee some respect. You know what I mean? Okay.
Wow. Yeah. No, I think he's
legendary vocalist. 65 years old, fucking in great shape. Just a really good dude. you know?
Yeah. What's
Yeah.
so what's he like to hang with? You say he's a great hang. Like, I would think he'd be a good conversationalist because, you know, you always think these, like, a lot of these rock star guys are just dumb rock stars. But I remember when him going to the courts and talking about the explicit record stuff and fighting for that. And he sounded
Dude.
super intelligent, and they were not ready for that. And it was badass.
Most of the rock star guys that I know are not dumb rock stars, but D is like the epitome of class. He's just just well read, well versed, been around the block. I mean, obviously he's stood up for you know, freedom of speech in our in music in our world. And you know, he's just he's in Cobra Kai season 3.
I saw that. That was amazing.
Yeah, how fucking cool is
So
that?
cool. That was amazing.
You know? He actually comes over in his Cobra Kai jacket. Every now.
He has a Cobra Kai jacket?
Fuck yeah, dude.
Oh, shit, man.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to put a bug in his ear and tell him to do my show, that would be amazing. Because
I'll mention it to him. I will.
Even if you lied to me right there, I really appreciate it. That's cool.
I will. I mean, Deep's easy. You know,
Yeah,
he won't care. He can say no. I mean,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. No, I think he already did, so he could say no again. But them Evils, I think this band is going to be huge. Tell me about their new song. He was telling me when I interviewed Jordan, he said they have a song called "Pour Me Another One." He's like, it's just about fucking drinking. And I was like, I got to hear this song. You think this could be like in a beer commercial or something?
Yeah. I mean, definitely, I mean, those guys are just like, you know, drinking dudes. That's what that band's about.
They seem like it, yeah.
Black as well. But they're just really, really fun. I guess, you know, their old producer, Kato, passed away in a motorcycle accident. And Kato and I have the same manager, Andrew Brightman. So we met through them, through my management, I think. And we've done a bunch of songs. A few of them have come out, and we've got 4 more that are ready to come out. Pour Me Another One is the next single. You know, big drinking song. I don't drink, but they. Oh,
you don't drink anymore, or did you ever?
No, I don't drink.
Did you ever drink, or you just never?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So was there a story there?
I just stopped drinking.
It just got too old, or just got sick of it?
I got too baby old? Coming now. I'm old, man. I'm almost 40. You know.
Yeah.
I'm over it. I drank it all already.
Is that hard to be around guys like them Evils and stuff when they're boozing, and like, are you kind of feel like a babysitter sometime as a producer?
Yes, but not about the booze. No?
Did you ever see, I don't know if you're a Metallica fan, but when I was a kid, I saw a year and a half in the life of Metallica, and they document the recording of the Black Album with producer Bob Rock. And the whole time they're just making fun of him and stuff. But it's like, I mean, he's such a good producer, but do you feel like that sometimes, like your dad, like you have to kind of like babysit these bands?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, it doesn't really happen in real time in the studio as much like that. You know, like I've seen that, and they're pretty brutal. I mean, they're also Metallica, you know.
Yeah. But, they were busting his balls. It was all in fun, you know.
But I mean, I think that like the producer in some ways can be kind of like the unsung hero band member that kind of keeps it all together and pushes. I push for a lot of my bands. I really push them, and you know, I'm sure there'd be another guy that would step up and do it if I didn't. But you know,
but they also, it's that relationship too, because they believe in you and they trust you. If they didn't like you and you're trying to push them, they're probably not going to listen to you, right?
Well, again, I the way I feel about it is the world's going to see this band through me. You know, I get the lens, and so we've got to kind of have a mutual respect, because I've got this idea of who the band is, you know, and they're obviously the band, and they have this thing they do, but I help shape that for everyone else.
Right.
And so it's got to be a mutual respect. And it's also like with the Black Moods, these things they kind of ebb and flow, and there's a timeline to them. It's not a forever relationship, you know. It just it works until it doesn't work, and then it may start working again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And I really love it, man. I love my job. I have the best job on the planet. So.
It sounds like it, yeah. So another band that you work with, how do I pronounce? Is it just Convey? Is that what it's called?
Okay.
Yeah, I just found those guys because I saw you produce them. There was a song, is it City of Skin and Bone? It got added to
Yeah, I love that song.
Yeah, it's a great song. So it got added to this really popular Spotify playlist. Was it the single Nutrition? Is that the one that blew up? It had like 700,000 listens. Now I know you say you don't care what happens to these songs after you produce them. But how?
No. I do care what happens to the songs. I just don't want to be involved in the
Right.
record.
Okay. Gotcha. But that's what my point is like, how important are getting on these Spotify playlists, and how do you get added to them? Because I feel like that's more important than getting played on an FM radio station these days. Would you agree?
It is. Well, it depends on the station, but and the playlist. But back to Convey is a great band. Originally formed in Boston. Love that band. But they, it's really important, and it's really about the algorithm that Spotify uses, to where it's about how many songs you put out and how fast you put them out. Spotify likes you to kind of keep putting songs out. So if you put a song out every 6 weeks ish, you'll notice that you'll get more playlists from them.
Is it better to do a song every 6 weeks than release like an album of 13 songs all at once?
100%. Yeah. I mean, especially right now, because everyone's sitting around looking at their phones all day. People want like drip content. If you threw a whole bunch of shit at them, they'd go, I don't have time to sift through this. If you throw a 3-minute song at them, I mean, you have to remember that people aren't like you and I, like that music is everything. People are just, making cookies and walking the dog. And so they want a little bit of information to be reminded about this band, and then they go about their day. And then you remind them again a month later or whatever. 6 weeks later. Yeah. So that's kind of how that works.
Yeah, that was a cool one. And then another band that I found that you produced, Moon Fever. I love this song, Cocaine. That song is so good. Is there more stuff with them coming out?
Oh yeah. We've done like 45 songs or something. They're a brand new band. They're crazy as fuck.
In what way?
They're just out of their minds. I love them to death. They're my new favorite band. And
they're fucking awesome.
And yeah, they're out of control.
The singer sounds like the Cult. He's Ian Ashbury. Is that the singer of the Cult? I was like, because it took me a minute. I was like, this singer sounds so familiar, and then it hit me. I was like, oh, it's like the Cult.
Yes, I get that vibe. I never thought about that. You just put that together for me. Thank you.
Yeah, it was.
Cody is his name.
Okay.
Basically, the band is around these two guys, Cody and Mitch. And Mitch plays guitar and Cody sings. They both write. And they're amazing. We've done a bunch of songs. And we're locked and loaded. We've got songs coming out. We're just putting material out.
Okay.
And
that's
some
great.
of the best songs are yet to come. I'm really excited about the next couple of singles.
Really?
Yeah, they're awesome.
Okay, I might have to have them on my show too if they'd be willing to do it.
You should have them on your show. They're fun guys. You'll like them.
It's fun too when you can get a couple of the guys. Sometimes I've had like 3 or 4 band members, and that's always like a fun interview too. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Let's see what else. You got some other people that you worked with, but I was wondering, how do you generally get hooked up with these bands and artists? Like, do you reach out to them and offer your production services, or do they reach out to you, or does it go both ways?
I think that mostly my records, bands hear my records and then figure out, flip it over and go, oh, this guy, and if you're familiar with a couple records that I've done that you like, then I get the call kind of thing. So it's word of mouth.
Okay.
I definitely am involved in scenes, like, the Night Riots, Atlas Genius, AWOL Nation kind of scene was a thing that I did for a while with Kenny. The rock thing that's going on with the Black Moods and Them Evils and Moon Fever, that's kind of a scene.
Yeah.
So a lot of the bands talk between themselves in the scene.
Okay.
I've done this my whole life, and I'm 40, and all my friends do this, and so it's just kind of like our group of friends, the managers and the producers and stuff.
Yeah, a lot of networking then too. There's another scene, because did you do some country? Is John Pardi, is he country, right?
Yeah, John's a country artist. So I have a publishing company in Nashville called The Song Factory. And John was signed to the Song Factory as a writer for a very long time, and we still work with him. But he's like, playing stadiums and shit.
Yeah, and then there was another girl that just released a song. Did you produce this one? The song was called Deepest Pleasure. I don't even know how to pronounce this girl's name, but it sounded like, how do you say it?
Xhoana.
Okay. It's like with an X though. And it sounds like 9 Inch Nails meets Rihanna is what I would
so I wrote and produced that. So she had a record that just came out a couple of days ago called the villain.
Uh-huh.
And so I produced it with my buddy Joey Ariema. And then her brother-in-law is Monkey from Korn. And so Monkey played on it and wrote with us. And my buddy Josh Newell mixed it. And yeah, I wrote and produced all those songs with her.
Yeah, that's cool. Dark stuff. I just like the variety. That must be fun for you because it's hard even if you're in one of these big bands like the Rolling Stones or something, like you're kind of like cut, you know, you're stuck in that kind of like band. Like, you know, I interviewed a lot of these bands. Like I just interviewed Lit. I love that band. But like then they went and made a country record because like, well, we kind of like country music. And it's like, ooh, we probably shouldn't do that under the Lit moniker. But you can produce all sorts of stuff as a producer.
Yeah, I mean that's the reason that I left the band. I was in the band for a long time, producing a whole bunch of other stuff, and it's like if you're an opiate for the masses, you have to make an opiate for the masses record.
Right.
That's all you can do. And like, you know, eventually swinging your head around and wearing eyeliner and fucking screaming kind of gets boring.
Right.
No
yeah. No.
But you know, I'm sure it would be easier if you were playing arenas, but you know, you weren't. But
for sure.
Yeah, but you know, but being able to work on country, you know, taking a guy like Danny and making a smoky R&B country record, working with a woman like Xhoana, and doing like, you know, industrial Portishead kind of shit. Like, yeah, I can do anything. I mean, you know, cool. and that's what's fun. I'm doing a Hyro remix right now. You know, Hyro the Hero.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I get to work with all different kinds of music. Because again, you know, for me, there's two kinds of music, and I just want to
good and bad stuff. Yeah. So when you're recording, you used to kind of record individual tracks. Like, so for people who don't really know, like typically you record the drums and then you record the bass and then the guitars and then mix it all together. But now you've, I don't know if you're still doing this, but I thought I heard you say that you're recording bands like live in the studio to kind of capture that live feel.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on the genre because, you know, obviously with like Xhoana, it's mostly program stuff.
Sure.
But, yeah. And so my drum room's behind this thing right here.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we all just kind of play. I kind of try to get everyone to play at the same time. Then I'll overdub and delete stuff and move stuff around and whatever. But there's something magical that really happens when you get like 3 or 4 or 5, you know, A-level studio musicians in a room that are like feeding off of each other and feeding off of the intention of the song.
Right.
Because, you know, anybody can program some drums and make it sound like a computer.
Yeah.
But if you can really get that soul, that swing, that emotion of the song to come through really great musicians who are like being inspired by that, it makes my job a whole lot easier. And it, you know, it really gets the listener to be able to emote. And that's what I think the songwriter and the artist is really striving to do.
Right. So how then do you typically fix things up in post? Do you change, like if someone hits a wrong note, do you fix that, or do you kind of leave some of the mistakes?
I leave the ones that make me feel right. You know, if the mistake makes me feel the right thing, then I'll leave it. If it's like, oh shit, that's dissonant and totally out of key, I'll nudge it.
Okay. Yeah.
But you know, the older I get, the less editing I'm doing, because I feel like the soul comes across. I'm also working with better musicians, so you know,
they're not making as many mistakes. Yeah, because I haven't noticed anything on any of your work where it's like something sounded out of key, like ever. So, and I'm not that picky where I would go like, oh, that's like technically a beat off or something like that. Probably most people don't notice that stuff, right?
Most people don't notice, but I think that, like, you know, for so long, for 20 years, people were making records that were snapped to grid and totally auto-tuned and whatever. And I think people want something that's different. I think people want to hear music, not computer.
I agree.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I push to do that with every session that I'm in.
Absolutely. So then with the music, the film and TV work that you've done, the music, like you said, you helped out with the Saw, which is amazing. And then you did some of these like kind of B movies. Dark Reel was like a horror movie. Yeah. And then this one that I watched the trailer for this one, this looked funny, Wrong Side of Town, with had a couple wrestlers. My brother knew that he's into wrestling, and Ja Rule's in it, and Stormy Daniels is in that one.
Oh, that's right. She is. I
I
forgot
didn't
about
know
that.
she was a legitimate actress. I was like, I kind of want to see this movie. What other?
I have to watch that again.
Yeah.
So I worked for Charlie, who did Saw. I helped him.
Yeah, that's so cool.
During that time period. Pretty awesome. And then when I got out of that situation, working for him, being on the road a lot, I started working on some. I mean, I was still in my band when I did Dark Real, I think.
Yeah.
Because my band's actually
you're in that one.
Yeah, that's right. But I mean, writing is for film is super fun. It's super tedious. It's
really.
Yeah, it's very time consuming. It's very rewarding, and I love it. But it doesn't give me as much. I don't get like that hit that I get from working with musicians.
Okay.
Producing a band, helping a band discover their sound.
What kind of movies are you in? Is there any film, TV, or movie director that you'd want to work with and score that would be like a dream, like Tarantino or something like that?
I mean, that's of course the all-time thing.
Yeah.
Probably not cut. I'm not cut out for it, honestly.
Really?
No, I'm a record producer, man. I dabbled in film scoring. It's not really my thing.
So you're not doing any of that now?
I mean, I do it. I work on some documentaries. I help my friends that are making films, that kind of thing.
But it's not your passion.
I don't have the passion for it.
Okay. So is it true you own studios in LA and Sedona? Is that where you live in Arizona? Are you in Sedona, not Phoenix, or?
I mean, I live in Los Angeles. I'm in Santa Monica.
Okay.
Right now.
But you have a studio in Sedona as well?
Yeah. I mean, I just have home studios in my houses. So I have a house in Santa Monica with a guest house that I'm in right now.
Okay.
And then I have a cabin in Sedona that I have a studio in. And I go there a lot with like bands from LA that we're trying to finish the record, and the girlfriend and the A&R guy and the manager are coming over every day.
Okay.
And the guys can't focus. I'll take the singer and I'll go to there's a band, Beware of Darkness, that I did that I love, that we finished the record there, that kind of thing. So I'm very selective about it. The Black Moods and I did a lot of work on the Black Moods record there.
Okay.
But mostly I'm working out of my studio in Santa Monica.
Is the house in Sedona? I'm picturing this like serene kind of like that Rick Rubin documentary where it's like, he's got is there like a river nearby or the creek or whatever?
Yeah. It's right on the creek. It's a very small A-frame. It's very small. I love it.
That's awesome.
I've got a baby coming. We're going to name my baby Sedona. Her name is Sedona. And I love Sedona.
That's great.
It's the best place on earth.
It's a boy or a girl?
It's a girl.
It's a girl. Okay. That would make sense. Sedona. So all the cool stuff and you've done and amazing things, was there ever hard times or like adversity that you had to face, or did all this just come kind of natural to you? Was it easy, or did you have to work your ass off to get where you're at?
Every day is hard. And it's, changing careers from from being an opiate for the masses to becoming a record producer was hard. I was 28 at the time. And becoming a mixer was hard. Mixing is really challenging for me. I'm still learning every day. And that's what I love about my career, is that when I come in this room every day, I learn something. I definitely take beginner's mind as like the thing. Like I come in, I'm like, I don't know shit. What can I learn today?
How do you, and you learned some from Charlie, from Nine Inch Nails, in the beginning, but since then, are you learning from the other musicians or other producers or YouTube, or just by trial and error? Or?
Yeah, I learn a lot from my mistakes.
Okay.
And I also watch and read everything I can, all the stuff I have time to. I love Mix with the Masters and, Mix Magazine, Sound on Sound, Tape Op. I just try to consume all that stuff. YouTube's great.
Yeah, no, that's cool. You're really into this. It's really neat to see, like, that you're, like you said, you're the luckiest guy because you have the job that you love. That's amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought I saw a picture of this, like, tell me the story with this 1954 Martin acoustic guitar. There's like a picture of Billy Corgan holding it and Gene Simmons. Is that your guitar? What is the story with that? Are you there when they're holding this, or is this like a guitar you've given to somebody, or?
That's a guitar that I got in Nashville. From Steve Martin, the comedian. It was his guitar player's guitar, and they were touring with it. And they wanted to stop touring with it because it's like it's paper thin, like it's where it's super thin.
Okay.
Like because of all their crazy banjo picking and shit. They're
Right.
bluegrass picking, I should say. And I've had the guitar for a long time. 1954 is a great year for guitars. I have a Les Paul that's a 54 that was my dad's since he was, he bought it in 56 for $100. And so I love 1954. It's kind of my year of guitars. And so I bought this Martin. I was producing Gene's kid, Nick, at the time that picture was taken. Josh was in that band, actually, Josh from the Black Moods. And I snapped a picture of Gene with it. And then I produced a track for Billy, and he sat right here on the couch, and I got that other picture with that Martin. So it's just my writing acoustic. I keep it in my recording acoustic. I keep it in the studio, and it's a great guitar. And people gravitate towards it.
That's awesome. Well, I do like to end each episode with a charity. Is there a charity or something that you work with you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, everyone should check out Drop in the Bucket. It's my friend John Travis's charity. They build wells in Africa for people that don't have access to clean water.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Dropthebucket.com, might be .org.
Okay.
And they're amazing. They have saved so many lives. So
that's a very important. I mean, I can't think of a bigger thing that needs to be. People need water to live, so that's amazing.
It's amazing how many people don't have access to clean water.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They're saving the world building these wells. So check it out.
We take that stuff for granted. Well, you've done so many amazing things so far with all the bands that you produced. Is there any other projects that we should look out for that are coming out?
I mean, right now it's been mostly just focusing on mixing and remixing. I'm not really seeing a lot of clients other than D right now, but check out Nathan Harrington.
Okay.
He's from Phoenix, reggae artist that is awesome that I'm producing. I'm always putting out new stuff. So
okay. Well, people, we can follow you on social media and then keep up with all your bands that you're producing. I think you need to update your website though. Some of the stuff was like,
I'm working on that.
Yeah. But we definitely talked about a lot of the cool projects that you have in the last few years, and they should be on that website too.
Yeah, I'm on it.
Cool, man.
Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it. Tell D I said hi.
I will.
All right. See ya.
All right. Later, man.
What an energizing conversation. If you like music, I don't see how you couldn't enjoy that interview. Jim is such a passionate guy who really puts his heart and soul into music, and I think that comes across in the finished product, and I think that's why I'm such a fan of his work. I really look forward to even more new music from him and the artists he produces. Definitely check out the Black Moods, those first two albums, Them Evils, Moon Fever, all the work he's done. I really think he's a brilliant producer. Follow him on Instagram to keep up with him, and if you enjoyed this interview, check out some of my other interviews, like my interviews with the Black Moods and Them Evils. You can follow me on social media to keep up with me for future episodes. You can subscribe on YouTube, and then you'll get notifications whenever I post new stuff. If you want to support the show, you can share my stuff on social media, rate me a review on iTunes, or donate to the Venmo. Thank you so much for listening, and remember, shoot for the moon.